If you heard the phrase food in its natural form, what would you think? What would that mean to you? Isn't all food created from something grown or raised? Well, not really. Food in its natural form refers to food that is close to the way it comes out of the ground or off the tree, or you get the idea. For example, whole wheat flour, while not in its natural form, is very close. Food that's been processed is the opposite. These fake cream-filled snack cakes are a great example of a highly processed food. Did you know that only 3 of the 37 ingredients in these things are easy to recognize? One of them is processed flour. That one shouldn't even count. The other 2 are water, not really a food, and whole eggs. I don't know anyone who has died from eating one of these, but ew, stick with food in its natural form.
You've already learned that your body has had to adapt to differences in the food environment of your grandparents, their parents, and so forth. Just think about the food quality of your great-grandparents' era. They likely ate locally produced foods with no chemicals or processing. Today, we have more processed food than ever. Food quality is just not the same as it once was, and neither is food quantity. Your great-grandparents probably consumed food in much smaller portions with fewer calories. Today, processed food has been loaded with calories. This highly processed fruit pie easily has more calories per ounce than a serving of fresh fruit. What your ancestors ate and what physical activity they did influenced how your body functions today. The body you inherited from your ancestors got used to the foods close to their natural form. Just imagine that you lived 100 years ago in the early part of the last century. Could you have taken the family wagon to a drive-thru for a burger and fries? Probably not. How about a soft-serve chocolate-dipped ice cream cone at the end of a long day of work? Yeah, I don't think so.
Imagine even further back to the first Thanksgiving dinner. The only food available was harvested from the ground, raised from the land, or picked from a tree. There was no other choice, and since then, tremendous advances have occurred in the food industry. And not all of them have helped us to be healthier. Remember, the foods your ancestors ate were close to their natural form. Today, the food environment includes more foods that are highly processed.
So where do consumers get a lot of their food? Well, by 2020, the U.S. fast food industry will generate over $220 billion. That's an upwards sales trend. Most of these sales will come from restaurants and drive-thrus. The rest will come from takeout, cafeterias, and buffets. Think about it. Every mall has a fast food court. There's a coffee house on every corner, and without looking too hard, you can find any fast food meal you want 24/7.
Unfortunately, Americans have increased their intake of foods in crinkly bags. And not only is the food supply more processed than ever, but food producers are working hard to get consumers like you to eat more every time you sit down. It's a two-edged sword. Look at this diagram to what's happened to the serving size of soda over the past 65 years. Incredible. Look at the change in the serving size of fast food French fries. The serving size of nearly every food is bigger. Your ancient body, which for centuries became used to consuming wholesome foods, is now being forced to adapt to large quantities of highly processed foods.
So where did all this highly processed food come from? Scientists tell us that careful manipulation of fat, salt, and sugar in the foods we eat has been a boon to food manufacturers and has become the holy grail of gaining repeat customers. Food manufacturers have gotten better at monitoring food sales trends. The foods with the right balance of fat, salt, and sugar sell better than other foods. This led to very crafty manipulation of the foods we consume. When salt, sugar, and fats are carefully combined, the eating experience is a whole new ballgame.
Try this. Think about your favorite food. Chocolate cake, pizza, breakfast cereal, anything. You should have a clear mental image of your favorite food. Now, think about the ingredients in that food. Most likely, it has salt, sugar, and fat. If not, just look a little closer. Say your favorite food is pizza, which has plenty of salt and fat, but not necessarily sugar. But what are you drinking with that pizza? If it's a soft drink, congratulations! Your favorite food contains salt, fat, and sugar. Without even being aware, people combine foods so that salt, fat, and sugar are often in the same meal. It's almost like an addiction.
Okay, so how does processed food impact your health? Specifically, what does a diet high in processed food do to your cholesterol, blood pressure, and glucose? A diet high in processed foods, which has more unhealthy fats, leads to higher levels of cholesterol. Fat just begs you to eat it. On the flip side, if you eat food close to its natural form, your risk of high cholesterol will be lower.
About 1 in 3 American adults have high blood pressure, and most don't know it. Blood pressure is a key indicator of overall health. Lots of dietary salt can lead to higher blood pressure. Fat intake is also closely linked with high blood pressure. Those who limit their intake of fat, especially saturated fat, tend to have lower blood pressure. So, unhealthy foods can increase blood pressure, while healthy foods can decrease blood pressure.
Glucose is just another word for sugar. The food you eat is converted into sugar, which the body eventually uses to create energy. Processed food becomes sugar much faster, which leads to a rapid increase of blood glucose. The opposite is also true. Foods close to their natural form are converted into sugar more slowly. Too much blood sugar is not good because high blood sugar is the main indicator of diabetes. This is not complicated. Foods close to their natural form have less salt, fat, and sugar. If you eat foods close to their natural form, your overall health will be better.
So you now know to avoid salt, fat, and sugar. But what should you eat? It turns out there are some superhero foods that can positively impact health in a major way. This obviously includes fruits and vegetables, but it may surprise you to learn that whole grain foods are in the superhero class of foods. To qualify as a whole grain food, the first ingredient has to be a whole grain. But what does whole grain mean exactly?
In the processed food era, the beneficial parts of whole grains have been removed to produce their less nutritious cousins. For example, brown rice is whole grain, but white rice is not. Whole wheat flour is a whole grain product, but bleached white flour is not. When whole grains are processed or milled, the two most beneficial parts of the grain are stripped away. The bran and the germ contain high amounts of fiber, vitamins, minerals, some protein, and important health-promoting chemicals. The center portion of the grain is used to make white flour. It is almost all carbohydrate and has very few vitamins, which is why white flour is usually vitamin-enriched.
A diet of refined grains comes with negative health implications beyond chronic disease. Since the white flour doesn't contain much fiber, it doesn't hold much water, so it tends to digest slowly. The digestion process becomes like trying to go down a water slide without any water. So, what are the health benefits of a diet rich in whole grains? First of all, whole grains can protect against diabetes. Those who eat 2 or more servings of whole grain foods don't have nearly as much sugar in their blood. They are also 30% less likely to get diabetes.
Those who eat more whole grains are also protected from heart disease and stroke. Large studies completed in the United States and Europe followed 250,000 women and nearly 100,000 men for up to 10 years. Those who ate more dietary fiber had a heart disease risk that was up to 35% lower, and the average risk of heart attack decreased 14% for every 10 grams of daily fiber consumed. Finally, women who ate 2 or more servings of whole grains per day were 36% less likely to have a stroke.
What about whole grain intake and cancer? The vast majority of a large study shows that eating whole grains prevents certain cancers, including breast, ovarian, colorectal, pancreatic, stomach, and other cancers. Lots of science supports the health benefits of a diet rich in whole grains. The current whole grain recommendation is that you eat 3 servings of whole grains each day. A slice of whole grain toast and a half cup of whole oats would provide 2 of those 3 servings.
Because you are enrolled in TLC, you will receive a tool that will become your best friend as you shop for healthy foods. It's called the Stop and Go Grocery Guide. This book includes hundreds of pages filled with common grocery items organized in red, yellow, and green categories. Red means hit the brakes. These foods are the least healthy. They may contain lots of sodium, trans fat, saturated fat, refined flour, sugars, or be highly processed. Just over 60% of the foods in the guide are coded red. What does that tell you about the majority of the most popular grocery store foods? Not that healthy.
Yellow means exercise caution. Foods that are coded yellow are better than the red ones, but not entirely healthy. About 20% of the foods in the guide are coded yellow. Green means healthy. Foods coded green are the healthiest and should be eaten every day. Fresh produce, nuts, and seeds are coded green, but also foods that are made with whole grains and healthy oils. Green-coded foods are low in fats. They don't contain excessive amounts of sugar and salt, and they are relatively low in calories compared to yellow and red foods. You can get the Stop and Go Grocery Guide app free in the App Store or at Google Play.
Here's a summary of the major things you just learned. Eat food that is close to its natural form to get the most health benefits. Limit your intake of salt, fat, and sugar. Eat superhero foods such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Use the Stop and Go Grocery Guide to help you avoid red foods. Go easy on the yellow foods and eat more of the green foods. Here's your task.